Just missing one crucial email flow for your brand can result in you leaving thousands on the table every month. My name is Mace Murray, founder of EXM Global Strategies, and we build retention engines for 6- and 7-figure e-com brands. In this video, I'll explain every flow, when it triggers, and exactly how much revenue each flow should bring. And the best part is this doesn't require new products or burning more money on ads. It comes from increasing your customer lifetime value. So the first one is arguably your most important flow, the welcome flow. The series of emails in the welcome flow is oftentimes the very first time that a customer gets to interact with your brand. The trigger is simple. Whenever somebody signs up to your list for email or SMS marketing, that's whenever this flow is going to be sent out to them. So that's the trigger. The welcome flow should also be your highest converting automation. The biggest mistake that I see brand owners make with this flow is doing one and done generic 10% off emails. When you build out a welcome flow and it only has one email with a lousy 10% off discount, the only thing that's doing for your brand is attracting low intent leads. So don't do that. The right way to do it is have a 3 to 5 email series at least. And what we want those emails to do is introduce your brand story or your values for the brand, not just stick a discount in there. Because if you have a well-optimized welcome flow, that welcome flow should roughly contribute 5 to 10% of your total email revenue. The second flow that we're going to be going over is the abandoned checkout flow. The abandoned checkout flow is triggered when somebody adds their shipping or their payment info, but they didn't complete the payment. And the biggest mistake that I see brands make with this flow is either waiting too long to send it, so their time delay is too long, or they use some fancy template, some fancy design that ends up just landing in the spam folder. Because something that you really want to remember is with retention marketing, and really marketing as a whole, it's all about getting in front of the right person at the right time. So if the time delay is too long and the person's already lost interest in whatever they were checking out to get, or if you're using fancy designs that just land in the spam folder, then the customer is not going to be able to see that email, and the email won't work. The right way to do it is to send that first email within 30 to 60 minutes of them abandoning that checkout. And instead of using a fancy design, use a plain text style email that seems like it's coming from the founder, coming directly from you. And this flow is huge for your brand. When this flow is optimized, you can expect to recover 10 to 15% of total lost sales. The third flow is going to be your browse abandonment flow. And this is triggered by whenever a customer views a specific product but doesn't add it to their cart. The biggest mistake that I see brand owners make with this flow is being too aggressive or even too creepy because you're sending it too fast. The right way to do it is to use it as just a helpful follow-up, because more than likely the reason that that customer clicked off the product in the first place is probably because the customer just didn't have enough answers for the product. And a confused customer or a customer with questions is never going to buy. So use these emails as a way to build trust with your customers. Maybe throwing some FAQs or some social proof, whatever it might be. Just gain that trust. That should be your main goal of this browse abandonment flow. A dialed in browse abandonment flow typically sees anywhere from 10 to 15% conversion rates on clicked sessions. The fourth flow is your site abandonment flow. This is triggered whenever somebody visits your page but leaves before they can click on a specific product. The biggest mistake that I see brand owners make with this flow is that they choose to ignore the traffic completely because they think that it's low intent leads. And there's a little bit of truth to that, but for the most part, it's really just cold traffic that's hitting your site. And this is totally okay, because what we know about the rule of 7 is we know that it often takes a prospect 7 times to see a brand's message before they make a purchase. So that is exactly what you need to be doing with your site abandonment flow. Just getting in front of that cold traffic with all of your best stuff. So the right way to do it is in these emails, you want to send either a best sellers or a new arrivals. And we do this to get in front of their face more, but we also do it to guide them back to our top performing products. Flow number 5 is our abandoned cart flow. And this one is triggered whenever somebody adds an item to the cart, but they don't proceed to checkout. The biggest mistake that I see brand owners make with this flow is that they simply confuse it with the abandoned checkout and send the same generic message. What we really want to be doing is focusing on the item that they liked. That customer added that item to their cart for a reason. So all we have to do is remind them why they added it in the first place. And as you can probably imagine, the abandoned cart flow is also very important. So make sure you get that one dialed in. The sixth flow is your post-purchase flow. The trigger for this flow is as soon as anybody makes a purchase. Ideally, you want to have a post-purchase flow that is sent immediately after they make that purchase. That's when the customer is already in a buying mood. So this is a great way to increase customer LTV, lifetime value, and it's also a great way to upsell them to increase the AOV. If you want, you can also have another post-purchase flow that's about 10 to 14 days after the purchase. That's totally optional, and if you have to do one or the other, definitely go with the first option. The biggest mistake that I see brand owners make with this flow is that they only send a boring transaction receipt. They'll basically treat this flow as like an order confirmation or a thank you flow, which is definitely what you don't want to do. The thank you flow and the order confirmation, those are flows for a reason. What you really want to do in the post-purchase flow is use this flow to build a relationship with the customer. So whether it be providing content on how to use the new product, or whether it be social proof, making them feel like they've joined a family. And the reason why this is so important is because the most money you make in all of e-com isn't gonna be on the initial purchase. It's gonna be in the purchases that same customer makes following that initial purchase. The seventh flow is gonna be your upsell or your bounce back flow. Now, based on the name, it's pretty self-explanatory. The goal of this flow is to provide an upsell option for the customer. So this flow is going to be triggered shortly after that customer makes a purchase. Now, the biggest mistake that I see brand owners make with this flow is that they offer a discount on the same exact product that they literally just bought. And obviously that's a big mistake because most people aren't going to buy the same thing twice, at least not immediately. Now, the right way to do this is that we want to suggest a product that makes their initial purchase better. So for example, if your brand is selling leather boots, you're probably going to want to sell some leather cleaner in that upsell. Now, of course, this flow can be situational, but get creative for your brand and figure out a way that can make that first item even better with this upsell product. Flow number 8 is your replenishment reminder flow. Now, much like the upsell flow, it's very situational, so the way to execute this depends on your brand. But there absolutely is a way to execute it, so just pop on your thinking caps and come up with something. But you're going to want to set a time delay for whatever the life cycle of your specific product is on average. So for example, if you're selling supplements and on average it takes 30 days for somebody to go through that supplement, then you're gonna wanna have a 30-day time delay. So the biggest mistake that I see brand owners make with this flow is that they're sending it too late. They're sending their customer an email after that customer's already went and bought from another competitor because they ran out too quick. The right way you're gonna wanna set this up is use your data to predict when they're going to run out. And ideally what you wanna do is when you know they're running low, you send them an email that's a one-click reorder option. The beautiful thing about the replenishment reminder flow is that you see very high conversion rates with this flow, if you do it the right way. This is because if somebody's already bought your product before and the product doesn't suck, then they do want to buy that product again. You just have to remind them because they're too lazy. Flow number 9 is the customer win-back flow. This trigger is based on customers who haven't made a purchase in a very long time. So the trigger will be customer made purchase, and the time delay is gonna be anywhere from 90 to 180 days. And so the biggest mistake that I see brand owners make is that they're trying to re-engage these profiles that have no business being in their ecosystem. These unengaged profiles are destroying your deliverability, which is a big no-no. The right way to do this flow is to send a high value offer to reactivate them. But if they don't respond, it's very important to suppress them immediately so that they don't hurt your sender reputation. The 10th flow is another one of those situational flows where it really does depend on your brand. But the next flow is one that everyone must have. So the 10th flow is a VIP customer flow. And this is triggered whenever a customer hits a high spending or a high order frequency threshold. And so if there's a specific pool of customers that are spending X amount of dollars on your brand, we want to reward that behavior. So the biggest mistake that I see brand owners make is that they treat these customers just like one-time buyers. The right way to do this is to give them early access to drops, exclusive discounts, or a great thing to do is personal thank you notes to increase customer LTV, also known as lifetime value. Now the next flow is an absolute must-have for every e-com brand, especially in 2026, the sunset flow. This is triggered anytime a profile is unengaged for a long period of time. We generally see this at the 120 to 180 day mark. And the biggest mistake that I see brand owners make is not having this flow. Or you have the flow, but you're keeping them on your list because you love seeing that profile count. But all this is gonna do for your brand is kill your deliverability, which is killing your sender reputation, and you're also gonna be paying an insane amount of money to Klaviyo when you don't have to. The right way to do it is to treat it as a last chance email. They have one last chance to engage, and if they don't, we automatically suppress them, which saves us money and it boosts deliverability. Most brands don't realize that at least 25 to 35% of their total revenue should be coming from these flows, even though they only account for roughly 2% of their total send volume. If your current system is a fragmented liability, aka it sucks, that's not only costing you money in hidden fees, but that's also leaving much more on the table for your brand. You need to stop doing tasks and start building an asset. If you want me to audit your current setup and show you exactly where your retention engine is leaking cash, click the link in the description to book a free retention audit call. And if you want more deep dives on scaling with retention marketing, stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.